Welcome to this explosive recap of one of the most talked about moments in daytime TV history. Today, we're diving deep into the shocking incident where Hollywood heartthrob George Clooney was dramatically kicked off the set of the popular British chat show Loose Women following a heated clash with longtime panelist Denise Welch. If you haven't heard about this yet, buckle up because it's a story that's got everyone from tabloids to social media buzzing with excitement and outrage. Picture this: the suave, silver-haired star of countless blockbusters like Ocean's 11, and his directorial triumphs, known worldwide for his effortless charm, sharp wit, and that disarming smile that could melt ice caps, steps onto the brightly lit, confetti-strewn studio stage in London, expecting what was billed as a light-hearted, feel-good interview to promote his latest humanitarian endeavors and perhaps tease a new project or two. But oh, how quickly the tides turn in the unpredictable world of live television. Things take a sharp, unexpected turn faster than a plot twist in one of his high-stakes thrillers, transforming what should have been a glamorous gabfest into a full-blown verbal battlefield. Denise Welch, the fiery, unapologetically bold actress and outspoken advocate who's carved out a niche as the queen of candid confessions on British screens, no stranger to controversy or the cut and thrust of public scrutiny herself after decades in the spotlight, is seated at the iconic curved desk, ready to engage or, as it turns out, eviscerate what ignites as a seemingly innocuous chat about Clooney's noble efforts with the Clooney Foundation for Justice, championing human rights from Darfur to death row, spirals uncontrollably into a raw, unfiltered showdown that leaves the live audience of eager fans gasping, the studio crew frozen in disbelief, and producers scrambling behind the scenes like firefighters at a 5-alarm blaze. This wasn't merely any fleeting spat between celebrities, it was nothing short of a clash of titans. On one side, a global icon with a net worth soaring into the hundreds of millions, an Oscar winner who's dined with presidents and dated supermodels, embodying the pinnacle of Hollywood polish. On the other, a resilient British TV stalwart, a survivor of personal tempests including battles with addiction, depression, and the relentless tabloid glare, who's built her legacy on raw honesty and refusing to bow to the powerful. To truly appreciate the magnitude of this meltdown, it's essential we rewind the clock a tad to grasp how this powder keg of personalities was even assembled and lit ablaze in the first place, setting the stage for the spectacle. Loose Women, that enduring cornerstone of British daytime television since its debut on ITV back in 1999, has long been more than just a chat show. It's a vibrant, volatile forum where a rotating quartet of predominantly female panelists and the occasional daring male guest dissect everything under the sun, from fleeting pop culture fads and fashion faux pas to weighty political pivots and personal heartaches, all delivered with a signature cocktail of irrelevant humor, sisterly solidarity, and zero-holds-barred candor that keeps millions glued to their screens week after week. Famous or infamous, depending on your tolerance for unscripted spice. For its willingness to put high-profile guests through an exhilarating yet exhausting ringer, where the blend of playful banter and probing, sometimes prickly questions can unearth gems of insight or ignite sparks of conflict. The show has hosted legends from Madonna to Meghan Markle, often leaving them either enlightened or slightly scarred. Enter George Clooney, at the ripe age of 59 during this fateful taping, still radiating that timeless allure with his salt and pepper locks and baritone drawl, arriving fresh off the promotional whirlwind for his atmospheric sci-fi drama The Midnight Sky, where he both directed and starred alongside Felicity Jones, while simultaneously amplifying his real-world heroism through the Clooney Foundation, tirelessly advocating for justice in war-torn regions and against authoritarian overreach. Clooney, the eternal golden boy of Tinseltown, has evolved from heartthrob Doctor on Earth to sophisticated spy in the Ocean's trilogy, then to respected filmmaker with nods from Cannes to the Clooney Foundation's global impact. And he's grown increasingly vocal on the world's sore spots, from amplifying the Syrian refugee crisis with on-the-ground visits to critiquing corporate ethics in his Nespresso partnerships, proving even his coffee endorsements carry a conscience. Denise Welch, now 62 and a Loose Women mainstay since joining the fray in 2005, commands the panel like a seasoned general, Beloved by fans for her visceral vulnerability in sharing her mental health struggles, her memorable turn as the troubled Natalie Horrocks in Coronation Street, and her razor-sharp readiness to call out hypocrisy, privilege, or plain nonsense wherever it lurks. Having previously tangled with firebrands like Katie Price and messy on-air dust-ups or verbally sparred with Piers Morgan over media ethics, she's the epitome of working-class grit meets showbiz glamour, a mother of two who's weathered divorces, tabloid storms, and a bipolar diagnosis with the ferocity of a lioness, turning pain into power. Clooney striding into her well-defended territory was akin to a gazelle wandering into a pride of lions wearing a particularly tasty steak ensemble, bold, perhaps naive. Now, let's meticulously dissect the clash at its core, at the very heart-pounding sequence that turned a routine segment into riveting reality TV, where every word was a weapon and every pause a powder flash. So hold on tight as we relive it in vivid, verbatim detail. It all unfurls with the deceptive gentleness of a summer breeze. Deceptive because storms always start calm. Host Christine Lampard, ever the poised professional in her pastel blouse and sympathetic smile, kicks things off with the full red carpet treatment. Ladies, get ready to swoon. He's directed masterpieces, stolen scenes in heists, and saved lives off screen. It's the one, the only, George Clooney. The studio erupts in a thunderous wave of applause. Wolf whistles piercing the air, as Clooney saunters in, impeccably tailored in a crisp white shirt unbuttoned just so, that trademark grin lighting up the room like a spotlight all its own, waving graciously before sinking into the plush, crimson guest armchair that suddenly feels like a throne or a trap. The initial panel lineup: Welch flanked by the affable Nadia Sawalha with her quick wit and bubbly Stacey Solomon. Fresh from her renovation fame, eases in with those classic softball lobs designed to warm the waters. George, spill the tea on twin life: do Alexander and Ella plot world domination at bedtime, or just keep you up more than a 3 a.m. call time on set? Stacey chirps, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Clooney chuckles deeply, that resonant laugh that echoes like fine scotch, sharing a tender, relatable yarn about the kid's latest escapade involving finger paints and the family dog, eliciting a chorus of delighted ahs and knowing nods from the crowd, who lean in as if sharing secrets at a cocktail party. The conversational current then meanders smoothly into career territory, whispers of a potential Ocean's 14 reboot, gushing over his Nespresso ads that blend luxury with a dash of ethics. Clooney fields them all with the finesse of a seasoned diplomat, dropping just enough insider nuggets to keep the energy buoyant without giving away the farm. All seems golden, harmonious, until Denise Welch, with her cascade of blonde waves and that piercing gaze honed from years of staring down skeptics, leans forward like a predator scenting blood, her voice honeyed but laced with steel. George, darling, we all adore your refugee work, truly inspirational, jetting to camps, raising millions, but let's get real for a tick. Isn't there a whiff of hypocrisy in it? You preach slashing carbon footprints from your private planes, yet there you are, Davos bound in your Gulfstream. How on earth do you reconcile that posh paradox? The studio falls into a collective hush, the kind that amplifies every rustle and breath, as if the air itself holds its tongue. Clooney's ever-present smile hitches for the briefest millisecond, a flicker of surprise crossing his chiseled features, but he rallies with practiced grace, adjusting his posture. Denise, that's a fair cop. Absolutely, none of us are saints in this game. My wife's knee-deep in human rights law. The best of times we offset, we advocate, but you're right, we're all still very much works in progress on this planet. As the argument surges to its blistering zenith, the gloves come off completely, veering into perilously personal territory that inflicts wounds far deeper than any policy debate ever could, transforming the set into a coliseum of confessions and cutting truths. Welch, fueled by the adrenaline of a righteous rant and her innate refusal to yield ground, escalates with a zinger pulled straight from the annals of Clooney's tabloid-tarnished past. Come now, George, you've built this halo around your head as the devoted husband, the ethical everyman, but let's not rewrite history, shall we? You up and left your first wife, Talia Balsam, for a whirlwind tabloid romance with that waitress, Remember? Then you swan about preaching fidelity and family values like some silver screen sage. Pot calling the kettle black much? The pronouncement lands like a grenade in the middle of the desk, the studio detonating into a chaotic symphony of shocked laughter, indignant boos, and frantic whispers rippling through the seats like wildfire through dry grass. Clooney, the man who's faced down fictional villains from Michael Clayton's corporate sharks to Syriana's CIA operatives with unflinching cool, colors visibly a flush creeping up his neck that no amount of foundation can camouflage, his composure cracking like fine china under pressure. Denise, that's a low blow if ever there was one, utterly below the belt and irrelevant to boot. My personal life's been fair game for vultures long enough. We're here to talk charity and causes, not dredge up divorce dirt for daytime drama. But Welch, sensing blood in the water and buoyed by the audience's split but vocal energy, refuses to retreat, doubling down with the ferocity of someone who's stared into her own abyss and emerged swinging. Personal? You're a public figure, love, parading your perfect life on Insta and interviews, and you can't demand kid gloves while dishing scrutiny on the world's leaders. Hero in the movies, saint off-screen? Nah, we're all flawed, but own it instead of polishing that halo till it blinds us. Clooney rises halfway from his seat, microphone clutched like a lifeline or a weapon, his voice dropping to a controlled thunder. This isn't journalism, Denise, it's an inquisition addressed as entertainment, and frankly, I've got far better ways to spend my afternoon than defending decades-old choices to someone who's... He halts abruptly, the unfinished barb hanging heavy in the air like smoke from a misfired shot, and the implication crystal clear, a veiled swipe at Welch's own well-chronicled battles with addiction, her bipolar diagnosis splashed across headlines, and the therapy sessions she's turned into triumphs of transparency. The panel recoils collectively, Nadia, while his hand flies to her mouth in horror, stammering, "Whoa there, let's pump the brakes, nobody's unpacking therapy on my watch." But the die is cast, the poison loosed, and it's far too late to reel it back. The audience surges to its feet in a polarized frenzy, factions chanting "George, George," in rhythmic solidarity with their idol, while Welch's diehards counter with fervent "Denise, yes, tell him." The cacophony drowning out Lampard's desperate pleas for order. In the escalating melee, Clooney gestures emphatically, his arms sweeping wide in frustration, accidentally toppling a half-full glass of water that cascades across the desk in a sparkling arc, soaking cue cards and splashing Stacy's lap, eliciting a yelp that cuts through the den like a siren. The outright ejection that caps this catastrophe, the sheer, operatic drama of it, a denouement worthy of a Shakespearean farce played out in polyester and lead glow, unfolds with the inevitability of a bad sequel no one saw coming, sealing Clooney's banishment in a blur of protocol and pathos, as the commercial break bleeds into eternity for the shell-shocked team. A hasty huddle in the control booth births the decree: Clooney's return to the hot seat is off the table, persona non grata until the heat wave of hostility cools. But the man himself, still simmering like a kettle off the boil, has already traversed half the labyrinthine corridors of the ITV studios, his polished loafers clicking against linoleum in a rhythm of restrained rage, trailed by a publicist tapping furiously on her phone to spin the narrative before it spins out of control. Word of the walkout propagates through the backstage veins like gossip at a high school dance, makeup artists cracking doors for peeks, lighting techs abandoning rigs to eavesdrop, writers in the green room firing off frantic texts to agents. Clooney's melting down. Welch went nuclear. Clooney, ever the trooper schooled in the art of gracious exits, pauses obligingly in the bustling lobby for a hurried selfie with a starstruck intern, his smile a masterclass in manufactured mirth, but those aquiline features betray the boil beneath, eyes shadowed with the sting of public unmaking. Back on the resurrected set, the panel reconvenes under the glare of recovery lights, Welch front and center with a theatrical exhale and a wink to the camera that screams victory lap. Blimey, that escalated quicker than a soap cliffhanger, didn't it just? George is an absolute legend in my book, no denying, but sometimes the truth serum stings a bit, ladies? The dissection commences live and unfiltered. Stacey Solomon, dabbing at her damp skirt with a tissue, declares it proper iconic. Like EastEnders meets the Oscars, messy but memorable. While Nadia tempers with concern, bit worried about the backlash, though we don't want to scare off the dream guests. Lampard, regaining her anchor poise, apologizes with polished sincerity. Viewers at home, if things got a tad too spicy, our bad Loose Women is about real talk, and today it was realer than most. Meanwhile, in the ether beyond the studio walls, Clooney's crack team unleashes a preemptive strike via Twitter. Deeply disappointed by the unprofessional turn, George joined in good faith to spotlight vital causes, not endure personal attacks. But the troupe _IRSIS_RA copyright assistance, the detail that catapults this from spat to scandal, grainy, leaked security footage that surfaces hours later, showing a burly producer not just any suit, but the segment's line boss physically interposing himself in Clooney's path back to the VIP green room, palms up in placating mode. "Mr. Clooney, sir, for your own safety and frankly ours too, if you'd kindly exit via the side door, we've got a car waiting, no fuss."